Hello and a very good evening to all our viewers who are joining me in this live interaction on the Facebook and YouTube page of News 9. And today I will be speaking about why you should not be scared even though India is set to cross the 3 million mark in terms of COVID-19 cases. So although the overall growth rate of COVID-19 cases is not yet negative in India, it has considerably slowed down because India is one of the 4 COVID-19 hotspots where the number of active cases has not started falling yet. However, the country's overall growth rate of cases has come down now, and there has been a steady decline in the positivity rate of COVID-19 despite an exponential increase in testing. And this goes on to underline that the number of active cases of the infection have reduced by 6,423 in a day for the first time. And the testing for the disease has been increased from 363 tests per million per day on August 1st to more than 600 tests per million per day at present, with India having tested nearly 3.7 crore cumulative COVID-19 samples so far. And the Health Ministry Secretary Rajesh Bhushan said that on the basis of a 7-day rolling average, the positivity rate of COVID-19 has come down to 8% now from 11% during the first week of August. And for the first time, the active cases of COVID-19 have reduced by 6,423 in a span of just 24 hours, and 2.70% of the active cases of the infection are on oxygen support, whereas 1.92% are in intensive care unit or the ICUs, and 0.29% are on ventilators. Also, the recovered COVID-19 cases are 3.4 times the number of active cases. Now, in order to give us more details and also to shed some light on this particular situation in our country, we have with us Dr. Sitesh Roy. Many thanks for joining me on this live interaction, Dr. Sitesh. And my first question to you today is that although India, is set to cross the 3 million mark in terms of COVID-19 cases, there seems to be a silver lining, which is the positivity rate has come down considerably from what it was earlier. So do you think this is a very good development, or do you think that India should be even more careful at this particular juncture?
Deepak, I certainly believe that this is good news, and I do believe that this is a positive news, because where our positivity rates were around 11.5% just a month ago, the positivity rate of cases is down to about 8% now. What that means is, of the total number of tests that are being done, which had at the peak been at about 10 lakh tests a day, we have only about 8% that are coming positive. And also what we have to realize is we are now not only doing the RT-PCR swab tests, which were the nasopharyngeal swabs with the RT-PCR, but we are also doing the antigen tests on these swabs, which happen to have a faster turnaround time. And so we're able to conduct a lot more tests and a lot more faster. And despite of that, the number of tests out of the total done that are coming positive is less. So that's a very good sign. And I also believe, like you rightly said, the case fatality is at its lowest that we have seen in a long time. The number of cases that have recovered have crossed 76%, which is a very good sign. And also the number of people who are having mild or asymptomatic cases is also at its highest. With all these facts, I believe that there is hope, there is positivity, and this is good news for all of us.
Also, Dr. Sitesh, there are many news reports which have this particular headline saying that why you should not be scared despite India, set to cross 3 million marks. So what do you think, why do you think that we as citizens of the country which is the 4th, COVID hotspot in the world should not worry about this particular factor, even though we are achieving a grim milestone of 3 million cases?
So what we have to realize is that this virus has the ability to spread very efficiently. Where we were expecting that one person would infect on an average 2 to 3 people, there are certain what were hotspots in India, including Delhi and Mumbai, where there were more than one person, more than 2 or 3 people getting infected by the virus. We now have the what we call the R naught, or the transmission rate, down to almost 1 or 1.05, suggesting that though the virus is still spreading, it is spreading at a slower rate, and in certain areas where we may have achieved a reasonable amount of immunity, it is not spreading as fast. there are still, as we can expect, because we are a country of 130 plus crores, there are still many areas that have not been exposed to the virus. And those are the areas in which we can expect new cases and we can expect new positivity. But what we have to remember is now we have much better and faster diagnostics. We also have very effective treatments that have been found, including antiviral treatments like favipiravir, remdesivir. So we are much better and much more efficient. We know that certain drugs like steroids used early in the therapy can prevent the progression of the disease to the level where someone requires ICU or ventilator care. So though we are picking up more cases and the cases have crossed over 3 million, we are also more efficient at treating them. And hence, I believe that we still have hope and it's a good thing. And as we step slowly but steadily towards developing herd immunity in the country, we also are safer than we were, let's say, 3 or 6 months ago.
Also, doctor, I would like to ask you, has a second wave of COVID-19 hit India already, or do you think that this particular development, we should not take it lightly, because there are chances of a second wave also, hitting India? And now already you can see that the cases are on the rise again in the national capital, despite, ramping up testing, and even though the positivity rate has come down. So do you think that we should be even more careful going ahead?
We absolutely have to be careful, Deepak. There is no question about it. This is not a time to get complacent thinking that we have better tests and better treatment, so we should let down our guards. This has been seen with old pandemics where after 3-6 months, there is something called mental fatigue that people go through and they stop wearing their masks, or they stop hand washing, or they stop social distancing. And this is not a good thing for anyone to do at this point of time. We still have to keep our best game forward, and we still have to take all the precautions, because as you rightly mentioned, the case is still increasing. It's not like we have stopped seeing new cases. We are still seeing thousands of new cases around the country. And we still have to remember that even if it is 3% or 5%, there are people who are getting hospitalized and requiring ICU care or ventilator care. So I don't think that any of these numbers, whether it is the reduction in the positivity rate or the increase in the recovery rate, should be reason for people to become complacent and relaxed and not take the precautions that they have been taking so far. We still need to be very careful. We need to maintain our social distancing of 3 to 6 feet. We need to still hand wash, use our sanitizer, use our face mask when we are around people. I still think it's very, very important to do all that.
Also, doctor, now the latest development in Karnataka is the fact that, from September, the government is mulling to open bars and even pubs. So instead of now taking liquor home, people can actually go to, clubs and even party. So do you think that even as India is now stepping into a safe zone, some of the curbs on the restrictions could again put India back in the hot spot?
Yes, Deepak, I am concerned about places like pubs and bars and clubs reopening this soon, because countries around the world, including the United States being a live example, cities that have taken that leap of faith and opened their clubs and pubs have found that the super spreaders, remember 10% people spread the infection to 80% of new infections. And if a super spreader happens to be in that club or pub, then you're ending up with 10, 20, 50 new cases within no time from one person. So I really don't think that yet is the time to celebrate, because that's the way people celebrate these things and go out and do stuff. I do believe that a very cautious, careful, learned decision about how to reopen our economy is very important when we take these steps, and opening more essential services, more essential works, businesses is very, very important, and avoiding areas where crowding, because closed, crowded spaces are the smartest way for the virus to spread. And a club and a pub is a classic example of a closed, crowded place with limited ventilation, with too many people within the small space. So I think I am concerned as a physician for these kind of decisions.
And also the health ministry and the ICMR has also said that we might, possibly get a vaccine by the end of this year or during the early stage of the next year. Do you think that if a second wave of COVID-19 hits India, do you think the same vaccine will be, do you think the same vaccine can treat patients who are infected by the second wave, which could, possibly be a much stronger mutation of the existing COVID-19, doctor?
So Deepak, it's a very difficult question because if there is a second wave, the chances that a vaccine can give us any protection or help is really a very long shot, because after vaccination there's usually a time frame of 4 to 6 weeks before a person builds up their protective immunity after the vaccination. And let's say that we do have a good vaccine, and we have had a lull phase for a while, after which there is a second wave that comes up, and there are a bunch of people who've been vaccinated. The vaccine would not become ineffective right away, because very rapid mutations in the COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 virus have not been seen so far. Okay. Whatever mutations have been seen have been slow and gradual mutations. So the effect, I would believe, and again, this is hypothetical because this is not a real scenario, but a potential scenario, is that if someone has been vaccinated before and a second wave of the virus were to come through, we should have some protection from the vaccine that has been taken that should keep us safe through the second wave. That would be our hope, because the influenza virus has shown something that's called a genetic shift, which is a sudden rapid mutation after which vaccines become fairly ineffective for those strains of the virus. Okay. But SARS-CoV-2 or the general coronavirus group has not shown those kind of mutations so far to us.
Okay, doctor. And one last question, immunity, or rather the antibodies, which in a recovered COVID-19 patient, starts waning away even after a couple of months, or rather even 6 months. It depends on the kind of immunity a person has. Do you think that even as a virus mutates, the potential to infect others, or rather, the strength of the virus decreases? Is that theory correct, doctor?
I don't believe that the strength of the virus declines is a theory that I agree with, because in anything that is there in Mother Nature, there's always efficiency that improves over time. Mother Nature very rarely makes something less effective, and the virus is a part of our nature. It has been around us in different forms for thousands of years. And I believe that the efficiency of infectivity of the current strain, the D614G virus that is there, the mutation, it's more efficient in infection, but less fatal or less risky in terms of taking lives. Okay. So I don't see how a mutation could make the virus less effective or less infectious. So that if that does happen, that virus will automatically run its course out and go into extinction. Rarely a living creature or a living organism does. It always tries to enhance its ability to survive. Having said that, even with waning immunity over 3-6 months or 1 year, some protection will still be there against the new mutants also that come, because the mutation is never 100%. It's always partial in certain spike proteins or nucleocapsid proteins or some other proteins. And the remainder of the proteins that are still, as I would say, maintained in the mutant virus can still be targeted by the antibodies and the immune system that has a memory either from previous infection or from vaccination.
Okay. Doctor, now going forward, what is your message to the people given the kind of scenario that is unraveling in the country? Now metros will start functioning from the first week of September. Bars and clubs are going to open, and even schools might even look to open their doors for students. What is your message?
So I think what needs to happen, Deepak, as I said, we just have to keep up our game. We should not let our guards down. We still have to maintain as much as possible social physical distancing. We still have to wear our face masks no matter if we are with our best friend or going somewhere where we know the people. It still is essential to wear the face mask in the right way, over the nose, not below the nose, not on the chin, but in the right place. We still have to use our hand washing, our hand sanitizers if we are touching public places or new spaces or areas that are frequented by a lot of people. And I think by doing all of that and keeping our travel to what is absolutely essential, we can protect ourselves, we can protect our families, we can protect our society, and ultimately reduce the burden of disease in our country and in the world. That's still my belief. And we also have to maintain our own immunity with a good diet, lifestyle, exercise, sleep, and everything else that we know keeps us in our best game.
Right, doctor. Thank you for those words of wisdom, and I hope all our viewers will inculcate all the tips and also safety precautionary measures which the doctor just listed out going forward, because metro schools might possibly look to reopen, and clubs are also on the verge of reopening, or rather opening their shutters in the first week of September. So given the kind of situation that is prevalent in the country, although the infection rate or rather the positivity rate is coming down, it still doesn't give us the freedom to not wear a mask or ignore social distancing norms, or break all the protocols that is listed by the health department. So in order to remain safe and also ensure that people around us are also safe, you have to be responsible enough by wearing a mask and also following a good hand hygiene, because these are the only weapons that we have against COVID-19 in such crisis-like situations. So going forward, just follow all the safety and precautionary measures. And with this, it will be a wrap on this live interaction. Until next time, stay safe and also take care.